The Detroit Lions want to change the NFL's playoff seeding system, and they're right. The system needs to change, just not the way they're proposing.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. The Detroit Lions want to change the NFL's playoff seeding structure. And I talked about it last year. I wrote about it last year for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. This current system is foolish. And at the owners' meetings back in March, the Lions proposed a rule change that was just straight seeding. Forget the divisions, basically. Seeding. That did not go over big. The altered proposal. Now, there's some conflicting reports about the altered proposal. My understanding of the altered proposal is you keep essentially the initial structure. If you win your division, you get a home playoff game. But in the second round, you reseed everybody based on record, which is doing this backward because the NFL already reseeds in the second round, really. They don't have a bracket. Like, it's not like the NBA where you've got, the 1-8 and then they play, the 4-5, 3-6. Like, it's not like that. It's not like that. Where if you're the 1, you're set up to get the lower seed, even though if you're the 2 seed, like you might, if the lower seed wins, then no. In the NFL, if you are the 1 seed, you play the lowest seeded team every round at home. There's no bracket. So it's not necessary to reseed. Now, the reason you would do it is you are tacitly acknowledging that it's foolish for a 10-7 or 9-8 division winner to host, let's say, multiple playoff games against teams that have better records if they're wild cards, just because they're wild cards. The 14-3 Minnesota Vikings are the peak prime example of this. The 11-6 Green Bay Packers, the 12-5 Washington Commanders. None of them should have been going on road playoff games in the wild card. Well, you would have run out of teams. The Packers would have had to go on the road at some point, but you would have played a team with a better record if you just did straight seeding. If what you're saying is we don't want these 9-8, 10-7, God forbid 7-10 teams to have multiple home playoff games if they win that first one and then they get another one because they're the 4 seed, because they can't be any lower than the 4 seed because they won their division. Let's fix it in the second round. But in the first round, you can have your home playoff game. Why? For what? If what you're saying is that system is bad, then that system is bad. And this is the system that I have been proposing now for several years. Not just because of how it would have benefited the Packers potentially last year, it would have benefited the Vikings too. Because the Vikings would have hosted a playoff game last year. Instead of having to go to, now in this case, it ended up being Arizona instead of LA because of the fires, but it was an unfair situation to the Minnesota Vikings. It just didn't make sense. And it still doesn't make sense. Now, let's back up for a second. How did this become such a problem? 2 reasons. The first is the league expanded. And when the league expanded, they changed the divisions. And they went from 3 divisions per conference with 5 teams to 4 divisions per conference with 4 teams. So now you've diluted the conferences. And you've made it more likely that of those teams in a division, none of them are very good. Now, it may seem trivial. Oh, that's just one more team. Yes. But think about it this way. Now, there's 25% more teams. You're adding one more team from 4 to now 5. So that's a significant difference. It's unlikely that of any 5-team sample that you pick, one of them is going to be, like all 5 of them are going to be 7-10 kind of teams. Like look around the NFL. There actually weren't that many 7-10 teams in the NFL. Just by odds, the odds of it happening are materially lower. So like imagine if you'd have kept the Bucks in the NFC Central. But if you look around the NFC, okay, so 7 teams get in. The Giants won 3 games. The Bears won 5. The Panthers and Saints each won 5. And the 49ers won 6. That's 5 total teams with like bad records. Well, that's in the whole conference. The odds of that being a division, pretty low. Pretty low. So now you've diluted the value of the division. And what you've done by adding the 7th team is you've assured a lower quality team is going to make it by virtue of adding a team, because that team wouldn't have made it before. And so they didn't win enough games to have been included before. They are worse than the group of teams you would have had if you're just 6. Now the Packers last year, 7 seed, 11 win team. But if you take them out, the win percentage of the overall group is better. So, okay. But you've done both of those things. You've expanded both of those things. So how do we create a system where you maintain some primacy of a division win? A division win has to mean something, or why even have divisions? So my proposal, again, over the last few years, this is not just one reactionary year, NFC North, is you win your division, you are guaranteed a playoff spot. And this has been something that was talked about in the NBA too, and I advocated for it in the NBA as well. They've gone to straight seeding, doesn't really matter. And now the rivalry is different and the scheduling is different. I like the fact that you have your schedules in your division. I like the rivalries and I want them to matter. Like our pal Jason Hirschhorn pitched to me an absolutely bonkers, way more complicated. He acts like it's not more complicated. It's significantly more complicated than the current format and way more complicated than what I am proposing, which is if you win your division, you get a playoff game. All you're guaranteed is a playoff game. So if you are not, like if you are a 7-10, 8-9 division winner and would not have gotten in had we just done straight seeding, you are guaranteed to make the playoffs. But everyone is seeded out. And I made this case last year when I talked about this and I wrote about this. The chances of you getting a worthy division winner who's getting screwed here is low, because if you've got a bunch of good teams in your division, there's only 4. So now there's a 17-game schedule. You're only playing 6 games against your own division. Like this was the thing from last year for the Packers. They wrecked the rest of the league in the regular season. They essentially only lost to each other and the Eagles. Like that was it. So if you're a really good division, you're not there is no like, oh, we're going to go 9-8 beating up each other. No, there's too many games total for that to be the case. So just for the sake of argument here, the NFC seeding last year under my proposed system where you just seed by record if division winners are also assured a playoff spot. Okay. Last year, the division seeding or the NFC seedings would have been Lions number 1, Eagles number 2, which is how it happened. Vikings number 3, Commanders number 4, Packers number 5, Buccaneers number 6, Rams number 7. You get an Eagles-Rams first-round matchup. Awesome. You get a Vikings-Buccaneers first-round matchup in Minnesota. Awesome. Why should the Buccaneers, a 10-win team last year in a crap division, have hosted a game against a 14-win Minnesota Viking team in a great division? Nonsense. And then you would have had the Commanders, a 12-win team. No, they didn't win their division, but the team that won their division won 14 games. So why shouldn't they have the benefit of a home playoff game? Commanders Packers would have been excellent. Here's what this also maintains, and this is something that the Lions, a point that they have made, and then I'll get off this point. Right now, the fact that you have division winners who can't fall further than the 4 seed is you have a 9-win, 10-win team at the end of the year resting starters in week 18 because they can. How does it make sense for a team that goes into the final week of the season with already more wins, has to play, the Packers had to play, whereas the Rams team that had already won fewer games, and by the way, lost the head-to-head with the Packers, could rest their guys because they play in a dog water division? Tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't. So it makes the product better. Week 18 is better. And it's a more equitable system. It's just better. It's simpler. It's easier. And that means the NFL won't do it. Now, there's another, Tush Push is coming later. That rule discussion, that's coming later. Next, some interesting comments about Zach Tom. And I don't want to focus too much on the Zach Tom piece of this. What struck me is how the front office and the coaches are working together right now in ways that I've just never seen before. At least not in Green Bay. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. How'd you like to combine live prop bets mid-game based on how the action unfolds? How about a $200 bonus bet if your first $5 bet wins to add to the excitement a little bit? Oh, you can put some live prop bets together, same game parlay, amp those odds, and get $200 in bonus bets. Now we're having fun. New to FanDuel. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. There was a piece on something called Channel 3000 Plus News about Zach Tom and Adam Stenavich, the Packers offensive coordinator. It seemed like maybe he misspoke when he said we're going to have a lot of competition there at both tackle positions with trying to find out who our best 5 are. Both tackle positions. Okay. But then he said, however it shakes out, tackle, right tackle, obviously right guard, there's a lot of competition. He explicitly says right tackle, even though we know Brian Gutekunst has already said there's going to be a competition at left tackle. So are the Packers actually going to make Zach Tom compete for his job at right tackle? I don't think so. That's not even the point to me. Because Zach Tom is going to beat out Anthony Belton at right tackle, in all likelihood. What the Packers are doing right now is synergistically existing in a way that Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson just never did. They are in lockstep about how to move this team forward. And that's why I think we're getting the very clear and consistent messaging on Jair Alexander. The front office, the player, the coaches, to a man, the coaches. Whatever, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Meanwhile, we're getting the reporting from Peter Schrager saying from Matt LaFleur, oh, we're in a good place with Jair Alexander. Jeremy Fowler saying, no, there's a resolution coming, and the most likely option is that he stays on the team right now. But the public facing part of the Packers is saying, we'll see. There is alignment there in ways that, remember, Ted Thompson wanted to have the youngest teams in the league every year. And Mike McCarthy was like, get me a damn veteran one time. Dom Capers' system required veteran players, required institutional knowledge and know-how and football intelligence. And the Packers were just like, yeah, here's some guys. Figure it out. There was no synergy. This is an extension of the conversation we had last week about competition. Matt LaFleur believes in competition, and so does Brian Gutekunst. He's going to keep bringing in players and say, find the best five. Zach Tom is going to be one of the best five. But there's a long-term piece of this here. What is the perfect negotiation tool with Elgton Jenkins, who's trying to play hardball right now? And by the way, I've been on record. I believe Elgton Jenkins is right to want to be compensated, right to believe he deserves an extension, frankly, based on the way that he's performed and been a stabilizing force for this offense over really the course of his career. But what better negotiation tactic to have than say, hey, look, Anthony Belton, this guy we just used the second round pick on, we think he can start at right tackle for us. And if we have to move Zach Tom to center because you're pouting, we can do that. Now, I don't believe that, but this is, of course, what the Packers can say. This is institutional alignment. They are together on this, and it's because their vision for how to build a football team aligns. Oh, you don't want to be here, you want to get paid? We'll figure out if we can do it without you. And even if it's not for this year, it is information for the future. And it becomes a negotiation tactic with Zach Tom too. This is a twofer. Because then it's like, well, actually, Anthony Belton played as well as you at right tackle in the preseason. We're going to extend you. We'll extend you at the top of the center market. How about that? Because that's where we want you to play. Remember the reporting from Rob Domofsky. We think that he can be an all-pro center. That was the reporting that people in the building in Green Bay believe he can be an all-pro center. Now, Brian Gutekunst said into a microphone on the record that he thinks Elgton Jenkins can be an all-pro center. So that's interesting. But what you've done and what we've talked about every day since this happened is the Packers have given themselves so much optionality, so much multiplicity. All of the football buzzwords that are fun can be applied here. Is it going to be Rasheed Walker or Jordan Morgan at left tackle? Is it going to be Anthony Belton or Zach Tom at right tackle? If it's not Anthony Belton at right tackle, is he going to be right guard? If it's not Jordan Morgan at left tackle, is he going to play right guard? If Elgton Jenkins is holding out in training camp, are they going to play some Sean Ryan there? Are they going to play Zach Tom there and see what that looks like? What are the options? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to find the best five and they're going to put them on the field. Seems like a good idea, right? So this is a football win for them to have all of these options to play into the competition. Zach Tom, he admitted, I didn't play as well last year as I wanted to play coming back from the torn pec. Didn't trust my right hand as much as I wanted to. Okay. We've seen him come back, change his body, get stronger. He's trying to get paid. Like he is one of the best right tackles in the NFL. But there were some inconsistencies last year, especially there was a great line from Derek Clausen from the Athletic Football Show called Zach Tom. He looks like a Pro Bowler until he plays a Pro Bowler. And then he doesn't. Like Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, they gave him work. Eagles game, those edge rushers gave him work. He's got to be better if you want to be a no doubt. We're not even open to discussion on competition. That's not the player he was last year. He was a good player, and I still think there's so much more he can be. He can be a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. I still think he is one of the better right tackles in the league, but he can be one of the 3 or 4 best. He can replace Lane Johnson when Lane Johnson eventually ages out of being that. But he's not there yet from a consistency standpoint, from an elite traits against the best guy standpoint. I think he's a really good player, and I would sign him tomorrow. Let me be clear about that. But he hasn't been so consistent that you wouldn't say, I'll move you to center. If I think it's the best thing for this football team, if Anthony Belton can come in and play right tackle right away, that's really valuable. And it could save the Packers some money. Yeah. These are things all working in concert with one another. It reflects a plan. It reflects a communications team. It reflects an organization working in concert. And I think from a fan perspective, it should imbue confidence in the plan, because there clearly is one. Now, whether the plan works, whether the plan is good, we'll see. But this is synergy. And it's synergy on a level that we just haven't seen from the Packers in a long time. All right, one more rule change to talk about. The tush push. The Packers have amended their plan, and I think in ways that really work. I think this makes sense. Does that mean it's going to pass? We'll see. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. There was some reporting that the Packers would not change the wording of their proposal to change or ban the tush push. That has changed. They basically want to go back to, at least my understanding is, want to go back to the old rule, which is you cannot push a player. And then there was like a weird time where they were like, there was a rule, but they didn't really enforce the rule. And the rule book can be an opaque and obtuse place to find yourself. But I've said, and will continue to say, that the number one thing I would like to see changed on the tush push is for them to merely enforce the rules. Call the formation correctly. Make the Eagles or whoever lines up conform to the rules. Be on side. Because the offensive teams consistently offside. And the Packers, I've seen the Packers called more for it being offside on the offense than I've ever seen the Eagles called for it. And the Eagles run it 50 times more than Green Bay. Not really, but metaphorically. Hyperbolically speaking. So call it fairly. But I also think, and Matt LaFleur spoke to this. I believe it was at the owners' meetings, but it might have been at the combine. When he said it's not a football play. If you're allowed to just get in there and get guys behind pushing and everyone, you lock arms and it's essentially a rugby scrum, not a football play. And I don't think you do this because the Eagles are too good at it. If anything, the Packers have been one of the better teams stopping it over the last few years. It's not a football play. And I think the rule to say, look, you cannot push a ball carrier. The old rule was you had to block guys. Like if you're a lineman coming in, you can't just if you're push the pile. What you'd had to do is you had to feign a block. So you had to come in and try and knock a guy off the running back or knock a guy that's sort of on the pile. Like if you got a couple defenders standing up a back, you could come in and block one of those guys off. But then it became where, how many times have we seen a back get stopped at the 2-yard line and a big old center comes in and just bang, pushes everybody into the end zone? There was a time in the NFL where that was not legal. I think that is a good thing that is not legal. Or that would theoretically not be legal. The part of the tush push that I don't like is not Jalen Hurts gets under center and their offensive line is just better than yours. Now, I don't like them being offside, but I don't like any team being able to line up offside and not have it called. So it's not Eagles specific either. What I don't like is then you have a tight end and a running back who can then get in behind and wedge the quarterback forward. I think any ball carrier in any part of the field needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet, literally and metaphorically, to make whatever play that they're going to make. that if you're going to win a quarterback sneak, it should be because your offensive line and your quarterback who squats 1,000,000 pounds can get it done. That should be enough. And if that's enough, that's enough. Like, I'm not against the quarterback sneak. Like, that's silly. What I don't like is the pushing of any ball carrier in any part of the field. Let the person with the ball decide how far they can go. That's it. Now, if you're a defensive player, you can do that. A linebacker stands a running back up in the hole. A safety can come in and stop him and push him back. But forward progress is there. Like, it's already done. Now you can prevent him from moving forward. I think that's a different thing. Because an offensive player can't come in and block a quarterback from moving backward, but his forward progress is stopped too. So it doesn't really matter. Like, you're not really creating some sort of disadvantage for the offense by doing it this way, even though the defense can kind of do this. The rule needs to be enforced as it's written. And then I like this tweak of the rule. And by the way, Mark Murphy, when he was on with Kay Adams, felt like he had some tailwinds on this. And Frankie Louvu was on Good Morning Football saying that he thinks it should be banned. Now, I don't know if that means the Commanders are going to vote for this, but I don't think Mark Murphy is putting his butt on the line for this if he doesn't think he can get the votes. We'll see. Again, I'm not anti-quarterback sneak. I don't like being able to push ball carriers. Like, go back to the famous Notre Dame USC one, where you have a running back pushing a quarterback into the end zone that wasn't going to get there otherwise. I just don't think that is a fair and equitable play in the field. The ball carrier is supposed to be the ball carrier. This is not rugby. Otherwise, you could literally pick someone up and throw them across the line of scrimmage. And in fact, that was brought up. I've seen that on Twitter and Blue Sky. And I think I even heard it on a sports show. It's like, why don't you just have a small guy in the backfield that the quarterback could throw across the line of scrimmage on fourth down? Well, this change to the rule, the Packers added you cannot push or pull a runner in any direction at any time or lift him to his feet. Presumably that would mean you can't also lift him off of his feet. So you can't, if a player's falling, catch him and lift him up, which we have also seen guys do. We've seen, a running back kind of breaks free. An offensive lineman is right there. The running back is stumbling. The offensive lineman will kind of grab him, or the running back will hold on to the offensive lineman and kind of lift him up. No, that's a gray area. I don't know if that would be allowed in all of this, but making this a rugby play and framing it that way, that is compelling to me. Now, I think there are some things in rugby like laterals and those kinds of things that the teams could incorporate without, sullying is too harsh a phrase to use here, but without really altering the aesthetics of the game. This does seem different. Like when Tom Brady would just sneak it across, that seemed different. It just seemed different because it was just like line up and Tom Brady would burrow in there. Like that just seems different. When Cam Newton was unstoppable at the goal line, that's different. He's Cam Newton. He was unfreaking stoppable. Low red zone, fourth and short. He was picking up that yardage because he's just an absolute monster. An enormous, strong, gifted, explosive athlete. He was going to find a way to get that first down. That's different. That's football. Rugby's not. No shade to rugby. Rugby's fun to watch. It's just not football. So I like the tweaks to this rule. I don't like the tweaks to the playoff rule. And that's where we are. All right. Another rookie orientation series coming this week, I believe. We'll get that scheduled coming up soon. And a lot more as we get you ready for an offseason that should I think be pretty quiet moving forward, but we'll see. Like there's still guys like Jadeveon Clowney still out there. Trey Hendrickson, what's going on in Cincinnati with that? Maybe we need to have one of the Bengals guys come on and talk us through what's going on there, but we'll see. Follow me on all the social media, Peter_Bukowski on Twitter and Instagram. Go search me on Blue Sky. You'll find me there. The podcast is posting clips all the time on all the socials, so go follow them. They're on TikTok if you're a TikTok person. I can't be, but that's great. If you are, go follow us on YouTube where you can watch us. Maybe you're watching me right now on YouTube, so you can stay locked on Packers.